Welcome back to Joy of the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson, and today's guest is living proof that where you start doesn't determine where you finish. Toni Sexton may stand just over 5 feet tall, but her story is larger than life. She was a high school dropout, a pregnant teenager, and a single mom, and yet she went on to build a multi-million-dollar company as the owner and CEO of Fusion Healthcare, dedicating 30 years to caring for seniors and improving their quality of life. And now, in this next chapter, she's boldly stepping into her other passion, fashion, specializing in blending vintage and modern pieces to create unforgettable looks that turn heads and spark joy. This is a conversation about resilience, reinvention, style, and the power of believing in yourself, even when the odds are stacked against you. Toni, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Sharon. I appreciate the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you here. So tell me a little bit about you. You were a high school dropout. Did you get pregnant in high school? What happened?
I was a chaotic teenager.
A chaotic?
A chaotic teenager in the 80s.
Yeah.
And grew up in Daytona Beach, so at the height of the MTV spring break video revolution there. So, yes, I decided high school wasn't for me, dropped out of high school I was probably in the middle of my 10th grade year, and then proceeded to have a lot of fun, and in the midst of that got pregnant and then decided, I think I was 16, and that put a stop to all the partying, because then the realization hit that you're going to bring a baby into the world and you better get your stuff together.
Oops.
So
yeah, so what'd your parents think?
Well, my mom is from the Philippines, and so her father's reaction was, you need to send her to the mountains and hide that baby.
Oh, okay.
I know, it was terrible.
You're going to the mountains.
I was going to the mountains. My grandfather's going to send me to the mountains. My mom and dad were supportive, though, and really stepped up and, helped through that whole situation. And have been there, for my son. And I have 3 other kids now, but they were there for my oldest son throughout his whole life.
Oh, that's great.
That was good. I mean, there were moments, though, like his first birthday, I was living in a rent-by-the-week place in West Palm Beach. I think it was like $125 a week. But when you don't have $125 and you have to pay that rent, or you're going to be homeless, I put all of his baby things out by the side of the road and put for sale signs on them. Publix gave us a cupcake with a candle for his first birthday. So, but, I was blessed that day. There was a gentleman that drove up, and he said, "Why are you selling all of your baby's things?" And I said, "Well, I have to pay the rent, and I don't have enough. Work wasn't, the check wasn't enough from work to cover the rent." So he pulled out $125, gave it to me, and said, "Put your baby's toys away." And so, stories like that. So I try now to pay it forward when I run into situations like that.
Oh, that's a great story. So you weren't living at home with your parents?
No,
They
no.
said
Yeah,
my
my parents had separated and divorced, and they were going through their own struggles. And the 80s was a tough time financially for people. So yeah, I was out there on my own for a while.
Oh my gosh! So what did you do to support yourself?
Waited tables. Daily work, daily pay jobs. I mean, you go stand in line and wait for them to pick you to go to work for the day. I think I'd worked at the Coca-Cola bottling factories where you had to sort bottles. I worked in factories where you had to solder electrical components. So yeah, variety of experiences.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. So did your mom and dad help you with the baby?
They did. There was a point in time where my oldest son actually went to go live with my father in Daytona. I was in West Palm at the time, because I had no place to live. I wasn't making enough money to save, with daycare and everything else. So he went to go live with my father for a while. And I slept in a restaurant waiting tables to make enough money to save money to get an apartment, and then had saved money, got an apartment, shared it actually with my mom and her husband. And so, it was just a rough going for a while there.
That's a rough time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I think, around 23, I thought, I have got to go back to school and figure something out. I just, I can't keep doing this. This is hard. So managed to get into the community college. I was going to be an English teacher. And then right about 3 months into school, there was a huge hiring freeze in Palm Beach County for teachers. And I thought I can't go to school for all this time and then come out and not have a job. So then I switched. A friend of mine had a sister who was an occupational therapist. And she said, why don't you come see what she's doing? So I went and observed, and I thought, well, this is great. And at the time, Palm Beach County had just opened up an occupational therapy program. Okay. So I managed to get into that program and graduated. And
so you must have gotten your GED.
I did get my GED. When I was 18, I went back and took my GED test.
And then went into occupational therapy.
And then went into occupational therapy at 23 when I got into the program. Okay. And graduated from that program in about 2.5 years, and then took a traveling assignment. So at the time, there was a big demand for therapists. It was a new field, or fairly new field, for rehab, and there was a lot of demand. So I took a traveling assignment to Clearwater, and I was only supposed to be here for 13 weeks, and here I am 30-some-odd years later.
Wow, that's a great story. Occupational therapy. So you said that I'm just curious, like what shifted inside of you that allowed you to go from surviving to thriving?
I think it was the realization that I really don't want to live life like that anymore, struggling to pay, weekly rents. And, if you don't have money for gas and you're counting pennies and you're trying to find change in the couch cushions and, it's hard. It was hard. And I looked at the whole pattern and I thought, this is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to be the rest of my life. This is not the life I want for my son. There's more, and I'm capable of more, and I just need to suck it up and do it.
Did you have one person or a mentor that kind of helped you along the way, or were you just so self-driven?
There were many. There were a lot of people. My mom, for one, she, despite all of the craziness in my teen years and the ups and downs as a young mom, because I was a young mom, and there were plenty of mistakes made. She was always there. Whether it was to, babysit, or, even if it was just, you don't have any food this week, come over and have something to eat. She would, even if she didn't have a lot, she was sharing. So there was, there was always my mom, and my dad was always, he was in Daytona, but when push came to shove, if I really needed him, he would have been there. And then throughout getting through school, that, I was on food stamps, I was on, welfare and WIC, and the case manager that handled my case was wonderful. I mean, she actually helped me take the test. I didn't have any money to take the test when I graduated. I went to school on loans and grants for school, but then when it came time to take the occupational therapy board test, I didn't have the $450 that it cost for the test. So I went to her and I was crying and I was, what am I going to do? And she said, I'll be right back. And she came back probably 15 minutes later and handed me a check and said, go take your test. So, it was good people like that throughout my entire life. That I always say I have great guardian angels.
Oh,
thunder!
We've got some thunder in the studio.
And then, once I got into the healthcare system, I had mentors that, taught me, because in the Medicare world, there are things that people you don't want to be around, and, influences that you don't want to have. So there were a lot of mentors who taught me, don't do this, stay away from these types of situations.
Yeah. So I think a lot of our listeners can relate to your story, because I'm sure, a lot of us have struggled throughout our life, right? And I think it does take just one or two people to. You mentioned the gentleman that gave you the $125 to start.
That was life-changing at that moment.
Right? It's life-changing. And then the woman that gives you the check to take your test.
Right.
And I think sometimes we're so ashamed to ask for help, or ashamed to say, we're struggling right now and I won't be able to do this if I don't have this. But, it's so funny. People really want to help and give a hand up, right, when they can see that you're really trying. So I think that that's a really important message.
It is. I mean, and so sometimes, I get frustrated when I see today, people, I can't do it, or nobody wants to help, or, people actually do want to help, but they want to help people willing to help themselves.
Right. Right.
If you're going to sit home and play video games all day and complain that you don't have money for this or that, well,
And that is the key.
Yes.
That is the key. It's like, I talk about manifesting a lot. And manifesting is great to want things and to reach, to put it out in the universe that I want to, be a superstar or whatever. But then you actually have to take action.
Right. You have to know, you have to see opportunity. You have to seize the opportunity.
Right. See and seize. Exactly. It's a two-part system, everyone. So what inspired you to go into senior care? We talked a little bit about you being the CEO in Fusion Care and the Fusion Healthcare in our intro. So what inspired you to go into that business?
So it's a funny story, actually. I didn't want anything to do with senior care or geriatrics. When I was in school, and I was a good student in occupational therapy school, so only at that time in my mind, my opinion was that, only the lazy, bottom-of-the-barrel therapists would go into geriatrics. And I wanted to go into sports medicine and, or psychiatric OT. There were a lot of different fields that I could go into, and geriatrics is at the bottom of my list. But reality is, when you come out of school and the highest paying jobs by far were in geriatrics, and you're a single mom and you're trying to figure out how to support your child, then you take the job that is going to support you the best. And so I did. And I will tell you, I have never looked back and regretted a moment of that. That population, the geriatric population, truly is probably the greatest generation ever. They have lived through depression and world wars and the advancement of technology, and they've seen planes go up, and they've seen the internet born, and the stories they have, and they've lived an entire lifetime that we can't even imagine, and they really want to get better, so when you're coming at it from a rehab perspective, sometimes you have clients who just want to fake getting better. But then but that generation truly, they want to maintain their independence. They want to walk. They want to be able to use their arms after a stroke, and they want to do all those things. So they're motivated. Yeah. At the same time.
So you started out as a therapist?
Yes. I started out as a therapist, working, again, it was a temporary assignment. I was only supposed to be in Clearwater for 13 weeks. And in that 13 weeks, I had taken on not only the job that I was there on contract to do, but then I picked up part-time hours with another company. And through that other company, I had come from a very structured background in my internships that, were run very well and followed the rules and things like that. And I came to Clearwater, and it was like the Wild West of healthcare here. Like, I walked in when I was with the part-time job, I'd walk in and I'd be like, oh my gosh, a therapist has his feet on the desk and people aren't really doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so, I came in and kind of started restructuring some of the programs and some of the places that I was going for the second company, and nobody liked me because I was doing that. I
can't believe that.
They were mad because I would come in and I'd say, well, why do you have your feet on the desk? And no, you can't see patients. Say you're seeing patients at 8 p.m. at night, but you're going home at 6. So there were a lot of different things. And
you were cracking the whip.
I was cracking the whip a little bit.
Cracking the whip.
And so that led to, once my 13-week contract had finished, the second job offered me a full-time job. So I thought, okay, well, I'll stay. It's good. I'm getting the feel for it here. Mm-hmm. And that led to the person who owned that company had a little bit of a chemical dependency problem, which I didn't know about until later. But a funny story, at one time she called and she said, I need you to meet me downstairs. I was in a nursing home. She said, I need you to meet me downstairs. And I said, I'm in the middle of patient treatments. And she said, yeah, but I need you. So I go downstairs and I said, what was so urgent? She said, I need you to pee in the cup for me.
Oh, no.
So when I say it was the Wild West of healthcare, it was the Wild West.
No.
So it was things like that. And eventually...
Did you?
No.
Wait, I need
Because I told her, I was like, I can't. There's going to be a temperature difference, and I can't just do that,
Well, good
So,
for you.
Yeah, those were wild days, and so she eventually, lost a lot of her contracts, and one of the ones that she had happened to be my favorite community, and one that I had close bonds with the people there and the residents there and the patients. And so, they had come to me and said, well, we're going to change companies, but we don't want to lose your team. So interview with, here are 3 companies, interview with these 3, and whichever the 3 that you like, then that's who we'll give the contract to. So I went and interviewed with all 3 companies, and I went back and I said, I can't work for any of those companies because their focus was so heavily on production and numbers, and during the interview process with all 3, and they were big corporate companies, but during the interview process there was very little talk about quality
Patient
or
care.
empathy or the actual patient. It was all really with this is how much you need to produce in a day, this is how much we expect in a week. And
Yeah.
I just thought, well, that's not for me, because that's not where our focus had been this entire time in that community. So I went back to them and I said, I can't do it. And, but I have an idea. And they said, well, what's your idea? And I said, well, what about if you just give me the contract? Just let me take it over. There won't be any difference in staff. I'll keep the same people here. And I had no money at this time. I had no money. I was paycheck to paycheck still.
Wow.
And I was like, just give me the contract. Let me manage it. And the only difference is, you'll pay me at the end of the month. So they
That
came
was
back.
brave.
Yeah.
How old were you then? That was brave.
I was 26. I think
Okay.
26 or 27 at the time. And,
Yeah.
and I'd been out of school a year, I think.
Okay.
And so they came back the next day and said, okay, we're going to give you a shot. And
the rest
that's
is
where,
history.
that's where it started. And then from there, we went from managing, skilled nursing rehab departments to branching into the home health care field, and building Fusion to, I think we had 6 offices and around 350 employees when I sold 2 years
Wow.
ago.
That's a great
So, yeah.
success. Yeah. Congratulations. That's
Thank
a
you.
great, great story. So what do you think was the hardest part of growing Fusion into a multi-million-dollar company? And what are you most proud of?
With Fusion, I think I'm most proud of the longevity, that we survived 30 years. If the healthcare field is not an easy one, and Medicare especially is tough to navigate because it changes so frequently, and there are a lot of rules. There's a lot of competition. So I think the longevity is one of the things I'm most proud of at Fusion, that we were in business for as long as we were, nearly 30 years, and we had long-term employees. I think my longest employee was with me for 25 or 26 years, so almost the whole time.
Wow.
And we had, several that were in the 20-plus year range. So I think that, to me, was one of the proudest things that I had with Fusion, along with a reputation. We had a great reputation, which is, again, hard to maintain in a Medicare world, in healthcare. And the hardest thing was really probably navigating all the changes when they occur, because without much talk or notice, somewhere someone decides we're going to change this policy, and then you really have to scramble to put all the pieces in place to carry that over into the company and make sure everybody knows it. And so those were the difficult things.
Yeah.
COVID was very tough.
I can't even imagine.
COVID was very tough.
COVID was tough on a lot of industries. I owned a restaurant at the time, which I
yeah.
ended up having to close during
Yep.
COVID. So yeah, I totally get it. It was tough on a lot of us.
It was really tough.
Yeah.
Like the masks and the gowns and then there was a
Yeah.
shortage of them. I mean, and people were sick. I mean, it was really, really tough.
Yeah, it was not a fun time. Hopefully we don't have to go back there
No, I
anytime
know.
soon. Gosh. So many people listening might feel stuck, overwhelmed, or like it's too late to change their story. What would you say to them?
It's not too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
I was in healthcare for all those years, had Fusion, and healthcare was really what I knew. I mean, that was what I lived and breathed for years and years and years. And then once I sold, I I was home and I'm not somebody that's ever just been able to sit home and do nothing. And so I thought, well, I'll follow up on, my passion for style and especially vintage, because being around the geriatric population for as long as I was, you really appreciate, I got to see so many fine things from their generations, their jewelry, the styles, the fabrics, the quality of the things that were made, just so different from what we have today. And so I thought, well, I have a nice little collection of vintage things going on, and I like style. Let's just open a little boutique, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'll sit there and I'll read when it's not busy.
Uh-huh.
And now you sit in the 3,000 square foot warehouse that is wall to wall.
Uh-huh. So where you probably can't disclose where all these great pieces came from, but
all over. From contacts I know that are closing out estates, from wholesalers in different places like New York that are clearing out pallets of things, because the warehouse is vintage to modern, so there's a little bit of everything here, and but most of it is personally curated. It's not, I don't buy in bulk like you get this shirt in 6 different sizes and 6 different colors, so everything in here is pretty unique. They come from all over.
And I just want to tell our listeners, I'm so sorry because we had technical difficulties today and we were going to videotape. We are sitting in Toni's amazing warehouse here in Sarasota, and she has got, I don't know how many thousands of pieces to choose from.
Thousands.
And if you want to come visit, you can come by appointment. So look it up on our website, VintageLuxe with an E.com, right? Is that
VintageLuxe Sarasota.
VintageLuxeSarasota.com.
Okay, and it's LUXE.
LUXE. And she's got some pieces today that I want to take a look at what you have here, and then we can move on. But this is incredible. So tell me about these ties.
So the ties. So we've started doing kind of a fun way to wear vintage ties with vintage brooches, because brooches are such a trend right now.
Yeah.
Rightly so, they should be. If you don't own a brooch, go get one.
I don't own a brooch. I might leave here today with a brooch.
You need to leave with a brooch.
I'm going to leave with a brooch today.
Because you can style them in so many different ways, but we have ties that we have put together with vintage brooches and vintage necklaces, so you can wear them. It really just elevates a casual look or a dressy look. You can wear them a multitude of different ways. And on our Instagram or Facebook page, there are pictures of how we've styled some of the ties.
All right, so you're known for blending vintage with new pieces. Mm-hmm. You already told us kind of what is it about vintage that inspires you? I know it's working with the elderly, but what is it that you love?
That was the original inspiration. Was really just when you're helping them downsize and they have to move out of their homes, and they can only take so many pieces with them to their new location, but you're looking at, the fabrics and the patterns and the cuts of the fabrics and the jewelry and the hats. Oh my gosh, the gloves. They just live such a completely different, elegant lifestyle. Everything was just classy. So that's where I think the passion for vintage developed. And then, bringing it into the modern world, the styles and the quality don't match. Today's stuff doesn't match. There's just, the stuff was so much better made way back when. But you can make it modern. A lot of people think vintage, I'm going to be wearing something that's old and smelly and, looks like my grandmother. It's so not true. Yeah, no. There are so many pieces that you can mix and match. You can wear a vintage belt with a modern dress. You can wear, vintage jewelry with, a brand new shirt. You can wear a vintage dress and put modern accessories. So there are ways to mix and match it to create truly unique looks. Yeah. So you're not going to get what everybody else is wearing. And I think that's why, vintage is so trendy right now. For so much of not just the United States, but the world. Celebrities are trending on vintage. It's sustainability.
Right.
You know, everybody is big on that now. When you start to realize what fast fashion has done and the amount of waste that it's created, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for vintage. You know, you can remake vintage pieces like you guys can't see, but this lace piece back here, the crochet piece,
Yes.
that has been recreated from 1930s doilies.
Oh, wow. I wish you guys could see this. I'll videotape it and you'll have it.
Yeah, that was all hand-stitched back from 1930s from a great-grandmother's doily collection.
Yeah. Places, you know, this is like my Disneyland.
It is.
I could spend days. I was just telling Kyle.
I love when
Kyle's
she comes
here.
in.
I know Kyle's here helping us today. And yeah, I was just telling him, like, I could just spend days going through everything. Every time I come in to visit you, I think I get like 10 pieces when I want it. There's just so much.
But I love having Sharon here because she's like a Barbie doll. So you can throw anything at her and she's willing to try anything on. She doesn't care what color it is, what style. She's just like, okay, I'll try it.
Let's have fun.
And that's what's great about being here at the warehouse too, is you don't have there's not the mall crowds or that cold, feel. It's, clinical. It's a vibe coming here, I guess. That's all I can say.
Do you have a favorite vintage designer?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's hard to argue vintage Chanel, vintage Valentino. It's really hard to argue with their styles. I'd say my dream pieces, though, would probably be something from Worth or Lanvin or, old couture.
Old
from the
couture. All right. I like that. What's the one fashion rule you think people should absolutely break?
Don't do what everybody says you should. It's totally okay to be yourself. Yeah. You don't have to, because someone says, you shouldn't mix your patterns. I break that rule all the time. I mean, I wear prints with stripes and, you do what makes you feel good. There's a whole trend now with the dopamine dressing, which...
What's that?
So dopamine dressing is dressing for yourself and dressing what makes you feel good.
Okay.
So you get the rush of dopamine because you really just enjoy what you're wearing.
I like that.
And so that's the number one rule I think people should really take a second look at is, it doesn't matter what you think you should be wearing, just step out of the box and try something different.
Yeah, well, and I think, too, that's important for women our age especially hear, because I do think sometimes we don't have the confidence to wear what we really want to wear, right? I think sometimes you're kind of like, I'm afraid to mix that color with that.
Never be afraid. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I love the warehouse so much is because there are so many different styles and patterns and cuts, and I mean, you see it here.
Oh, it's amazing.
That you can really just try anything on, and we're all about playing dress up here, So come in, play fun. Dress up, let me pick something for you. Let me say, just try it on. So let me put something together.
I'm just curious because one of the things I really struggle with is accessorizing. I really struggle.
I love that.
I literally will wear a ring, maybe a pair of earrings. I have fun with my shoes, for sure.
You do have fun shoes.
I do love my shoes. But you start putting necklaces and bracelets on me and I am lost. You've already lost me. So where did you get your sense? Was it just from things you love, or where did you get your sense of fashion?
It's really it's things I love, but it's also being able to look outside the box, the other day I posted a picture. I had a vintage necklace on with flowers, but I used it as a headband. So I just put it on and clasped it behind my hair, and that's just another way to wear it. So it's really just thinking outside the box and looking at something, which I guess comes from an OT background too, because there were a lot of times I had to look at a patient situation and not in the terms of this isn't going to work, but how do we make this work? So I did that a lot with OT, and I think that mindset kind of shifted into fashion with looking at a piece and saying, what can we do with this? How could we style this? What are all the different things that you could make this work as? So we've had brooches as pendants for necklaces. We've done necklaces as hairbands. You've had necklaces you could turn into belts. I mean, you can make rings into scarf rings. It's really in looking at something and saying, what can we do with it?
So when did you start collecting?
Oh, well, I've probably been a lifetime collector since I was able to afford things. When I say lifetime, it's in the lifetime of actually being able to make enough money to buy things. But I would say heavily collecting for probably the last 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Mm-hmm. And there are...
You have amassed a large collection.
A large collection. So there are, conservative estimate, on the jewelry side alone, between the vintage and the modern jewelry pieces, over 500,000 pieces.
Really?
Yep. There's a whole other warehouse that it's just boxes and boxes. And then clothing, I would say probably pretty close to 300,000 pieces of clothing.
Wow. And do you ever get stuff in and you're like, no, yeah, this isn't really what I was hoping, or you're pretty good about?
I'm pretty good usually. There have been pieces that have come in and I have those like WTF moments. like, why did I buy this piece? I'm not really understanding. But then I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with this piece?
Yeah.
So it's not even really about, sometimes I'll get something and I'll be like, that is really just not what I thought it was going to be. But then I can look at it next to another piece and I can be like, yeah, but if I team it with this, it might actually be a cute outfit.
So were you always collecting with the intention of opening up?
No.
You were collecting
no, I was collecting because it was stuff I loved, yeah.
And then it got out of hand.
Yeah, and that's the number. And that's
Okay.
kind of the number one rule is really buy what you love. You know,
Okay.
if you start collecting or if you're just beginning to collect, it's buy what you love. Don't buy what you think people are going to love, or don't buy what you think is going to be the next big thing. Buy what you love, because at least then you'll always have a passion for it.
Yeah.
And then you can branch out from there once you start buying things that you love, and you can mix it with things that maybe you don't love as much, but they pair well with what you do love.
And now, listeners, she's sharing the love. Because you can come and see what Toni loves.
So I have a lot of love to give right now.
She's got a lot of love to give. So you need to come and check it out. Yeah, this place is amazing. I'm no lie. I travel a lot, and I've never, ever seen the selection of clothes and jewelry and handbags and shoes and hats.
It is kind of
and
one stop.
Feathers. And we have a VW bus in the middle of the warehouse. I mean, that's our kind of masterpiece here in the middle. Is we have a 1974 VW bus that is parked in the middle of the warehouse, and you could sit in it, you could take pictures in it. Oh my gosh. And like sexy tiger pillows, I might have to own those too. I mean, just on and on and on.
It is an eclectic collection of just about anything. And even if you aren't in the market to buy anything, just coming in here is like, I don't know how you walk out without buying anything.
You don't. I can confess to that, and make sure you have a zero balance on your credit card when you come in, because you're going to want to purchase.
I always say, if you can't find something in this warehouse,
oh my gosh,
I don't have a whole lot of hope for you.
No. So last time I was here, I bought 2 dresses. The time before that, I bought these amazing Chanel earrings.
Those earrings are so good on you too.
And Toni's price points are affordable. They're everywhere from kind of average pricing to very high-end pricing. So
I try to have something in every price point.
Yeah.
I mean, we have jewelry that is, $5 just just to wear for fun, to a $5,000 Dolce & Gabbana runway dress. My newest one is that 2005 Roberta Cavalli runway dress.
I'm already coveting that dress. Every time I walk in now, I'm like,
that's my new favorite.
Oh my gosh. That's gorgeous.
You need to try that on.
Have you tried it on?
I have not tried it on yet.
You need to try it on. We both need to try it on.
I know.
It would go great with my shoes I'm wearing
it
today,
would.
though,
So you should probably try it on before you leave.
I might have to. That thing is stunning. It is stunning. Like, we have to try to describe this to our listeners because they can't see it. So this is, I would say it's silk, right?
It's silk.
All silk. And it has kind of a nude background, and the pattern on it is, what is it, snakes?
Dragons and snakes.
Dragons and snakes kind of going through it. But it has this amazing piece going down the neckline that is in what, I can never say Swarovski.
Swarovski. Nobody can. Just say crystals.
I can't roll my R's.
It's beaded and crystal, like centerpiece right about the waist. Oh. And then the sleeves.
I mean, the sleeves are flowy and romantic and gorgeous. And
the sleeves are like a balloon sleeve, and they fall from the shoulder all the way to about the ankle. And it is just in this very
like a butterfly.
flowy butterfly,
Like a butterfly.
look. And
Yeah.
then the whole piece is kind of trimmed in a yellow, and it's about mid-thigh.
Is there a picture of that on your site, on your website, or on Facebook?
Facebook. There's
On
a picture on Facebook.
Yeah, so you can follow Toni on
Yeah.
Facebook. So what's how would they find you on Facebook?
VintageLuxe Sarasota.
VintageLuxe Sarasota on Facebook, and also on Instagram.
On
and your other
Instagram.
socials.
Is
So
it
yeah,
SRQ?
Look it up, you'll find it.
No, VintageLuxe Sarasota on
Sarasota.
Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, this place is amazing. So you're also a mom.
I am a mom. I have 3 kids, and the oldest one is now 40, but then I have a 21-year-old who is in law school, and then a 20-year-old at home, and then my youngest one is Bugs, and he'll want me to give him a shout out. Bugs has Down syndrome, but he is he's going to be the next big viral thing. That's what he'll tell you.
Oh, you just
So
might.
he's at home, yeah.
You just might. Put it out to the universe. It could happen.
That's it.
All right. We're going to look out for Bugs.
His actual name is, on his Instagram, it's Bugs the Legend. So he is
Bugs
manifesting.
the legend on Instagram.
He is manifesting.
All right, everybody look him up on Instagram. How old is Bugs?
Bugs is 18. He just turned 18.
Excellent.
And we got him through high school.
You got him through high
We got
school.
him through high school. He is graduating.
Yay, Mom. Yay, Mom. So what's next steps for you?
For me, really, it's probably buckling down and organizing and categorizing the inventory that we have. There is an amazing inventory here that
Yeah.
we haven't even started to really categorize. I mean, you're seeing the tip of the iceberg here in the warehouse, but then there's a separate warehouse. So it's really, really buckling down on that. And then I would really love to, source for like movie productions and things. I've had a couple of inquiries. So that's one avenue that I think would be really fun to be able to get into.
That would be fun.
We're, I think, going to be helping curate the real estate fashion show that's coming up in October. So we've been contacted about that. So a lot of fun things, just having fun with the inventory.
And you already have a lot of clients and collectors that come in
Yes.
and want to be styled by you. So, yeah.
Styled or have fun. Just, I need a unique piece for this event or that event. And so we'll go through and...
Now, would you host parties for girls here?
That would be very fun to do.
Okay.
So it would be, I would say, so that everyone would have, max attention and it wouldn't be too crowded. And because it is a working warehouse, I would say max of 10 to 12 would probably be the most that I could see comfortably here.
Right.
Between trying things on and, being able to ask questions and...
Yeah.
But yes, that would be fun. Bring champagne and hors d'oeuvres, light hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, because it is very personalized.
Yes.
The service is very personalized. So what was I just going to ask you? So you've been open here now you've just started opening to the public by appointment only.
By appointment only.
So how many appointments are you taking a week? Do you take them just during the day? Are they evening? Are they... Does it matter?
We are very flexible with
Okay.
hours. So, again, that's one of the benefits of shopping this way is being able to customize it to fit, everyone's schedule.
Yeah.
So we can do nighttime hours, we can do early morning, we can do weekends, we can do weekdays. We're very flexible in that way. Days of the week, flexible, again, in that aspect. So, and as far as open to the public, really just reach out to us. We do have a little bit of a questionnaire because it's open to the public, but it's not, where you want the general public just rushing in.
Right.
So we do have a questionnaire that we send out and ask so that we have an idea of what you're looking for. And, the one thing that we're not like a thrift store or consignment store. So, that's one thing that I get asked a lot, and and we're not that. It's a little bit different.
Now you own all these pieces.
Yes, we own all these
your
pieces.
Inventory.
And it's not, it's not what you would think of when you think of a thrift store. Because when I think of thrift store, I think of, a lot of, gently used or maybe not the most fashionable pieces. And you're really digging to find good things. And here, just about everything is
Everything is
good.
Yes,
or
Not just
and it's
everything
new,
is- yeah.
you know, or it's a curated vintage piece.
Right. No, it's a beautiful, honestly, the most beautiful selection I've ever seen at a,
Thank
I
you.
guess you call it a thrift store, but I don't even call it that. I think you're in a category all its own for sure. So I
It's an
always
experience.
It is an experience, and it's a great experience for anybody that likes fashion, likes to dress up and have something unique and one of a kind.
It's so
That's
fun.
what I love about thrifting.
We had a Uber driver come for delivery. I ordered pizza for the team here, and so she pulled up and, you know, she knocked on the door, and we answered the door, and her face lit up like, I mean, she was tall. You could tell she was very into fashion, and she just said, "Can I come in?" And I said, "Sure, come in and look." And so her face lit up, and then when she left, she said, it was like Harry Potter. She said, you know how they go through that little doorway and then it's a whole different world? She said, that's what it was like. She said, on the outside, it's this warehouse, but then you open the door and it was magical.
It is magical. It is like heaven on earth for those of us that love this. And I'm one of those, so I'm a huge fan. So we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to ask you one final question.
All right.
What advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self, oh gosh, let's see, the chaotic younger self that was crazy.
Sure.
I would probably say, there are times where I probably doubted myself or, was kind of afraid to take a risk. And I would say, don't be afraid to take that risk. Just sometimes just take that leap of faith and do it. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but I think back to all of the periods in my life that really turned the path and direction of my life, and it was those periods of time where I just had to kind of close my eyes, say a prayer, and just do it, make the decision to do it.
You just made me think of one other question. What would you say to that person that took the risk and failed?
Well, there is no failure really without trying. So, it's not really a failure; it's a learning lesson. Because
Right.
Through my whole journey, there have been plenty of times where there's, something I set out to do and it didn't work. And so you had to go back and reevaluate and say, okay, well, why didn't it work and what can I do to make it work the next time? So it's not really, I don't ever look at it, although they might have felt like failures, I never really looked at it as failure as much as, now that I'm looking back, it's learning experiences. Because from every one of those failures or not successful attempts, there was a lesson to be learned in that.
It's a stepping stone.
Exactly.
Right? It's a stepping stone. Well, thank you very much, Toni.
I appreciate your time today.
Oh, I so appreciate
and
you.
I love that you're passionate about my passion.
I am so passionate about your passion. I could go broke in here. So I'm actually glad when you don't have my size in some things, because I would be in trouble. But anyway, thank you so much. And to our listeners, again, if you're in the Sarasota area, please reach out to Toni at VintageLuxe and come take a look at this amazing selection of vintage clothing and all things vintage, really.
Vintage, modern, designer.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of everything.
You will not be disappointed, and you will not leave empty-handed. Thank you
Good
so
point.
much,
Thank
Toni.
you.